Encore. One more round.
One more time. Oh, carry on, carry on.
Oh, good job, good job. Okay, come sit down.
Good.
Oh, no, the piano
the
first.
The accompaniment was very good as well. You see? Well done, team.
Come back and share with you. Don't worry.
Now I have to serve.
Just waiting for you.
Let the children stop.
We don't need children's story. We don't have any children here. All adults, right?
Oh yeah, we're all adults. Yeah, right.
Oh, no children anymore.
I know. Adult.
You are adult now. Okay. Alright. This is a sermon that was given long ago, not long ago, last year. Some of
Last
the pathfinders. I think it's connected to what we talked about this morning to a certain extent. So let's look at it. Now, many times when we look at the Bible and so on, we just gloss through the whole thing. We don't think deep enough. But many times, if you think deeper a little bit, you find that a lot of truths are hidden. People like to lie to us. They tell you a little bit on the surface, and then when they lie to you and you believe, you're going to fall deeper and deeper into the trap. So we're going to look at two examples. Okay, the first example is about a giraffe. Okay, and this morning we talk about creation. We're going to look at the giraffe and how they tell us that the creation.
For your mouse.
Okay. Drop the whole thing, distraction. Okay, and the second example you can look at is the blind man. Many times we assume that the blind man was just like that, but if you think a little bit deeper, it tells you a little bit more about the God. Okay, yeah. This morning we say that. Can you see it?
You can see.
Yeah, it's from a
Can
monkey
see,
to
can
a
see.
man.
We always think that the people always say, oh, once upon a time we were monkeys. And then as the monkey goes further, what happened was they stood up further and further and they become a man. Okay, and it sounds very logical because the way they explain it, oh yeah. But then there are lots of issues, a lot of questions over there. Okay, we saw millions and millions of examples of the chimpanzee. Okay, we go to the zoo, we go to places, we see the chimpanzee, we see millions of examples of a Homo sapien. Okay, a man that's standing tall and right. Okay, but we have no examples of any of this in between. So how come there's millions of this, but no millions of this? Okay, it's not logical, right? So, but many people don't question. They always say, oh yeah, what they say is correct, what the scientists, okay, say is correct, but scientists are now having a lot of problems. Many of the things they said seems not to hold true. Like for example, recently we sent a spacecraft, a telescope up to space, and they're studying pictures back into Earth. And many of these pictures tell us that the Big Bang Theory doesn't hold water. Okay, and some of them tell us that seems to imply that beyond our universe itself, there's no time. Okay, so a lot of interesting things are happening today that the scientists are starting to doubt and they're starting to question. So you can look at the giraffe. All right, everybody know what the giraffe is. And the evolutionists, they think that the giraffe is something that was very special to them in that they say, oh, I know how the giraffe comes about, they said. You see, what happened was once upon a time, all the leaves on the ground would dry up, so only those leaves that are high up are there. So what does the giraffe do? The giraffe will stretch the neck, until they reach the leaves, and then they started to eat the leaves. Okay. Now, what they don't tell you is that it's very difficult for a giraffe to keep stretching because it takes 1,000,000 years. And by the time the neck actually stretch up in 1,000,000 years, guess what? The giraffe will have died. No food because they can't reach. The other thing they didn't tell you is that, you know, the okapis and all those horses and all those, they were actually originally the same height as the giraffe. So if the giraffe needs to reach out for food, then the horses and all those also should reach out for food, but they did not. But the evolution says, oh, you see, They are so proud. This proves evolution because of a need they start to stretch the neck. Okay, but let's think a little bit more. Okay, don't listen to just what the people say. Think a little bit more. You see, if you watch and observe, in science itself, observation is very important. You must have evidence of observations. So if you look at the giraffe, when they eat, they don't always go for the highest. Usually they eat midsection, like this giraffe here. They don't stretch out to eat the topmost, they eat in between. Okay, that's where they eat the most. So they don't really need to stretch the neck that long. Okay, so that shows that the scientists must have some mistake over there. Okay. Another thing is this. If you go to some countries, okay, like we went to visit some of the villages in the northern Thailand, there's this group of women, they put rings around the neck, and they said the longer the neck, the more beautiful you are. There is something interesting about this woman. After the neck is very long, you become the most beautiful woman. When they bear a daughter or a child, the child's neck is not long. Okay, they have to start putting in the rings again and push the whole thing up. And they also found that actually it's not because the neck becomes long, but because they push the bone down. But what happened is that this lady shows something. That trait of stretching the neck is not inherited, it's not passed through the genes. And therefore your baby that comes out cannot have long neck. And therefore something is wrong with the giraffe. Okay, the giraffe cannot pass that long neck gene down to the infants if they are doing that same way. Alright, so if you look around evidences that show that something is wrong with that theory that they have. Okay, what is the neck for? Well, the neck of the giraffe is made in such a way that it's very muscular, it's very flexible. Okay, they can actually, the bones are made in such a way they can adhere. I'll talk more about bones later on. But one of the main purpose is to protect itself. The other purpose, like shown over here, is when they are mating, they fight against all the other males, and the strongest will win. Okay, so that's one purpose. The other purpose is when the lion comes, the neck of the giraffe is so strong that it can whip, and the lion will be knocked off. Okay, so lion is the greatest enemy. So the neck is made not because they want to reach out for food, but for things like that. And when they run too, the neck actually helps them to balance. And like the kangaroo has a long tail, it's for balance. The neck is there for balancing. So when you look at a giraffe, they use the neck to balance. Then the evolutionist says, I know, I got evidence. You see what happens is we have only 9 bones in our neck.
7.
Okay, 7 bones, sorry. Only 7 bones in our neck itself, that make up our neck. Then they look at the giraffe, you know how many bones a giraffe has in the neck? It's so much longer, but it also has 7 bones. Okay, so they said, see, they must have evolved because, look, there's only 7 bones like human beings. How come they got such a long neck? But if you study deeper, okay, our neck bone, you cannot turn all the way to the back. We are not flexible because the structure is such that we can't turn. But if you look at the giraffe neck itself, they have what you call as a ball and socket, so they can turn more. That's why they can whip something off. Okay, so the structure is different from our neck. Okay, they can you go and fight with your friend, you go boom. You can't do that. Okay, giraffe can. And the giraffe bones, the neck bone, each neck bone is very long. You see the man there? Okay, and you see those bones there? Those bones are the neck bones of a giraffe. That's how long it is. Okay, and those bones, because it's very flexible, it helps it to balance, help it to move about. Right? So the scientists never think about that, but you can. Alright? Okay, here is another thing that shows something. Now, when we move about, our heart is here, our brains is here. Correct? So our heart only need to pump hard enough for the brains, the blood to go to the brains. Okay, that's important. Now, if the giraffe was about our height initially, and then they stretch the neck, which means then the heart will have to keep pumping. If the neck become longer and longer, guess what? The heart, if it's normal one, will not be able to push the blood all the way to the brain. So you go halfway, up to maybe the neck. No blood goes to the brain. What happens if there's no blood going to the brain?
I know. The giraffe will die.
Okay, yeah, not die so fast, but they become unconscious because there's no blood, no oxygen. So correct. So what happens is when the neck is so long, the heart has to also becomes very, very powerful. And so the giraffe heart is bigger than our heart many times. The muscles are much thicker, and so boom, push, the blood goes up. Okay, then that's why the giraffe can survive. So we can see that this is not evolution, it's creation. Someone designed it so that the heart is strong enough to push the blood up against gravity. Okay, against gravity. Gravity is pulling down, but the blood shoot all the way up to the brains, and then there's brains, there's blood in the brains. The giraffe can move about. Okay, now there is an issue a little. Okay, I showed you the heart. This is actually a human heart, not the giraffe's heart. Okay, there is an issue. Okay, now when the giraffe bend down to drink or to eat grass, what happened? They have to put the head down this way, right? Now, when they're standing up, when the heart push, the blood goes against gravity. Gravity is pulling down, but the blood is strong enough to go to the brain. When the giraffe bends this way, gravity is pulling the blood this way. So the heart doesn't know. So the heart push as hard as it can. Okay, but what happens when you push it hard and it's going down with gravity, it becomes very strong.
Burst their head.
Sorry, what is it?
You burst their head and they can burst.
Yeah, correct. It will
brain
burst the head.
damage.
It will burst the head. So the heart is the heart pumps so hard that it actually can burst the brains. So when the giraffe bend down to eat, boom,
You will die.
the
of
head
stroke.
burst. Not the head burst, but the brain burst. So something is wrong. You see giraffe eating that way. So what happened? Anybody know how did they overcome it? How is it that they can actually eat and drink and not having the head burst? Well, what happened is that it's designed in such a way that the blood,
Wow.
okay, they have valves. Valves is things that allow blood to go one direction. Okay, so when the heart pumps, it goes up, then the valve will open up, then it go up. Okay, but as the giraffe bends, somehow the nerves tells the giraffe, hey, you're bending. So what they do is they cause the valves to close down slightly so that less blood will flow in, and then therefore the blood will not push all to the way to the brains itself. So it comes down all the way. Almost very little blood will just trickle down to the brains. Okay, so it's design, it's not evolution. Imagine taking millions of years, many giraffes will have died if they take years to evolve that system where blood flows. Okay, so that is that. Now there is another problem. See this giraffe here? He's drinking water, and so what happened? All the valves are closed, right? Not much blood going down. Then the giraffe from the corner of the eye, guess what the giraffe saw? A lion coming. Okay, now when a giraffe see a lion, what happens? When you see a dog or an animal coming towards you, what do? You want to get out and run.
Fight or flight.
Yeah. So what happened is the giraffe will quickly stand up, ready to hit the lions away or run away. But you know, if you sit too long and you put your head down too long and you stand up, what happens?
You're dizzy and faint.
Yeah, you feel giddy, you will faint. Okay, so that's what happened. When the giraffe stand up suddenly, not much blood in the brains, what happened? They feel giddy and then they faint.
Inside.
And then the lion will come eat it up. Alright?
For dinner or lunch
Yeah, that's right.
or breakfast.
So that cannot happen because you notice that the giraffe can just hop off and go away. So why? What happens? You see what happened is at the bottom of the brains there is a sponge-like thing. So when the giraffe is down this way, the blood will actually accumulate, gather into the sponge itself. So there's oxygen. So when the giraffe comes up, yeah, the blood haven't reached from the heart to the brains yet, but there's blood in the sponge itself, and so the blood helps it to have oxygen, and that's why it doesn't faint. It just comes out and then they can run off. So again, this shows us that there is a creator, a designer. Okay, it's not evolved. Okay, and so they can just bend down and drink water without a problem, and they can get up without a problem. Okay, so it's designed in such a way that it will survive, it will live on forever and ever. Okay, so another thing is this: when human beings, when they give birth, guess what? The head comes out first. Okay, so the head comes out first, and then the shoulder, and then so on. In the case of the giraffe,
The buttock come out
the
first.
legs come out first. Okay, the leg will come out first. Why?
So they can drop.
Yeah, you know the giraffe when they give birth they stand up, and the giraffe is as tall as the back of the giraffe is as tall as a man. So when the head comes out first, guess what will hit the floor first?
Head.
The
Head
head will fall
injury.
first, and then when the head falls first on the ground, what happened? Boom! So the giraffe will die. So the giraffe is very clever. The legs comes out first, then the head. Then when the leg goes down, the leg will touch the ground first. So at least they got something to stand. It's a little wobbly, but they can just stand. Okay?
And after all, they fall on their back leg.
Yeah, they fall down. The leg
Or
will
on
hold
their
them up for a
tummy.
little while, but they won't die. Okay, so if you look at this, the way they are designed, you find that the giraffe is very clever and is designed to survive. Okay, let me just go on. I'm going to skip certain things too long. Okay, so Darwin's evolution is just a tall story. Okay, it's not true. All right. So what I did show you was that whenever people talked about evolution, like what happened just now, okay, you think if monkey can become human, then can a fruit become a plant? Okay, or fruit become something else? But no fruit. You think more, you think deeper than what they said. What I like to show you another example is that sometimes when you read the Bible, we don't think deep enough. Okay, we just read the Bible, oh yeah, then you put it aside. And guess what? You lose a lot of messages that is there. So let's look at the Bible. Okay, I like the book Gospel of John. The Gospel of John, in the Gospel of John, what they said was in John 20 verses 31, he said that John wrote the book of the Gospel of John so that everybody can know what? Know that Jesus is the Son of God. Okay, and so when you read the book of John, you have to think, how does this story, how does this parable tell us that Jesus is God? Okay, so let's think in the way. Okay, now we know the story of the blind man. Okay, there was a couple of blind men, but this one was a little bit special. Okay, so what happened was, as he was going by, he saw this blind man, and the disciples saw the blind man and said, whose fault was it? Whose fault was it that the man became blind? Is it because of the parents or because of the man? Then Jesus said something very interesting. Verse 3, John chapter 9, verse 3. Okay? He said that, no, Jesus said, it's not the father who sinned, it's not the parents who sinned, but so that God's work can be manifested in the man itself, so that the man can show God's glory. So what does Jesus mean? Okay, let's look a little bit deeper into the story itself. You know, whenever Jesus healed, the Bible says, Jesus says, take out your bed and walk, or be healed. Okay, but in this particular case itself that John recorded, Jesus did something different. Alright, Jesus actually bent down, and then he took the dust. Okay, and then he molded it. Okay, normally he don't. Normally he just said, you'll be healed, and everybody be healed. But this one was special. He took the dust, okay, put it nicely, and then he put it onto the blind man's eye, and then asked the blind man to go. Okay, so many times you read this, and he just said, oh yeah, Jesus did this. We didn't think why he did it. What's the reason why he did it? Okay, he just said, go. And then, of course, we read the story, and then the man says, oh yeah, he went, he washed, and then he can see. Now, what is also interesting is this. He was at the place near the temple itself for 30 over years. People all around were seeing him every day. And if you see someone every day, can you recognize the person? Yeah, of course, you see them every day, you know the blind man. But you know what happens? When the blind man came, someone looked at him and says, who is that man? He looks like the one that was blind, but look at him, he's different. They couldn't recognize him. Okay, have you ever wondered why couldn't they recognize the man? What was wrong?
Because the man now could see, but last time he couldn't see.
Okay, yeah. Now he can see. And not only that, they say something that was very interesting in verse 10. He said that his eyes was opened. Of course, we assume, oh yeah, he can see, that's why his eyes are open. Okay, I'd like you to think a little bit deeper. Okay, again, a little bit deeper. Then he said that a man used clay, took clay, and then put on the eye itself, so use dust. There must be something special about this, there must be some meaning. Okay, now, let's look at the blind person now. Where's the other one? Who is blind?
The one whose whole eye is entitled all
Okay,
white.
yeah. Okay, one that has no black. Okay, well, the other one is a normal eye. So we know straight away by looking at the person, straight away we know who is blind. Okay, so a blind man has either no black in the eyes, or no iris. Okay, no hole that is there. That is a blind person. Okay. Let me just keep this one first. Okay. Here's another who's blind.
The boy.
Okay, yeah, both of them are boys,
in blue.
but the one on the right or your left, okay, is blind. How do we know? How do you know he's blind?
His eyes are closed.
Eyes are closed, okay?
Looks like no eyeball inside.
Yeah, correct. I worked with blind kids before, okay, and I noticed something interesting. Those kids that has accidents, like one of the boys had a gun, and then the gun went off and he shot through on his eye. He still got his eye, and you can still see his eye, like what happened to the previous girl. But those who were born, like this man, those who were born from birth, you know what? They got no eyeball. And these blind kids of mine, they got no eyeball. They like to stand there and then they like to press on the eye and until there's a hole inside there. And they like to do this because they got no balance. So they always do that. Okay, keep moving because they're trying to counteract the balance. But they like to press on the eye, the deep eyeball, no eyeball, just until like this.
Socket.
So, go back to the blind man that Jesus healed. Guess what? The man was born from birth. Does he have an eyeball?
He was born from birth.
Yeah, he was blind from birth. Yeah,
Born from birth.
It's said.
blind.
Born blind.
Okay, he was born blind. Yes. Blind from birth, yeah. Okay, so he will look like this. What does it mean? He has no
Eyeball.
eyeball. Okay, like this. Okay, no eye at all. If you try to open up, it's very close, very tight. But when you try to open up, it's very hard to open, and there's nothing but a cavity inside there. That's how you recognize the blind. Okay, think again. Okay, Jesus came and he took mud, dust, and he put onto the eye. Okay, remember he has no eye. Then when he washed away, what happened?
You can see.
His eyes open and he can see. How can he see? Because he has.
Eyeballs now.
Ooh, but I thought at first he got no eye, no eyeball. How come now he got eye? What happened?
Jesus
did a
created an
miracle.
eyeball for him.
Yes. Remember in creation, how did God make man?
You just need to see. You just need to make from dust.
Yeah, made from dust. That's right. So Jesus took the dust, put on his eye. Nothing, no eyeball becomes
Something.
eyeball. Who only one person can do that kind of thing, and the create. Yeah.
If there are two people,
Okay.
one is Jesus, one is God.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. There's two person, but God allowed Jesus to do it. And only Jesus can heal. Therefore, what does it show you? That Jesus is the Son of God. Okay. Now many times we don't think deep enough. We just oh yeah. Okay, then you skip the whole thing. But what did John try to show us? That Jesus is the Son of God. And the blind man initially didn't know. He thought he was just a prophet. But later when he went and see Jesus, guess what? He believed that Jesus is the Son of God. And not only that, he said that he worshipped. Only God can be worshipped. The blind man worshipped God. Okay, so when we read the Bible, we want to be very careful. Don't just read and then yeah, finish. Okay, there's a lot of truth inside there. You want to think through. Here, it shows us that God is a God of love who cares for us, and He created us. And God shows His power to create. Okay, blind man, no eye. He put the dust in there, and then the eye eye was opened. And that is why also there's another reason why the parents and the neighbors couldn't recognize him. Because there was no eyeball in the first place. Now he have eye. It's something different.
My son sucked in, now it's pouch.
Yeah. So that is the story that we have. Okay. And so we do that. Okay, you can skip that. So what we want to do is this. Remember, when people tell you something, don't just take it for granted. Okay, if they tell you, oh, the giraffe is evolved, don't believe them. They say you are evolved, don't believe them. Think deeper. When you study the Bible, same thing. Ask questions, think deeper. Don't just read through and then just accept what it is. Think. God has given you a brain to think. Okay, all right, that's it for the thing. Okay, nice everything. All right, any points, any things, any comments you want to ask and put up? Any questions? No. Okay. Then we can have some song and then we can close.
Who's singing? You're the song leader.